come to the bold analysis. The Law Society of Kenya today held a protest dubbed Ruto Must Go to protest over the recent onslaught against the judiciary. And the lawyers who all moved from Supreme Court to the President's office in Harambee House were chanting the Ruto Must Go slogans, as you can see in this video. Now, to the surprise of many, yesterday they had actually followed the process of notifying the police to ensure that they are given security. But earlier in the morning, of course, when it started from the Supreme Court, actually moved, I just went to town around Kit 11 and the whole thing had ended. So I did not get a glimpse of what is going on. But reports are emerging about how the Law Society of Kenya, how the protests, they played against the police in the trap. President and the team knew that the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, who is the head of the Judiciary, was going to lead part of the Judicial Service Commission to be part of the LSK team, because they are all members of the LSK, because that is the umbrella bodies for the lawyers. And they knew very well, and there was that intel early report that Martha Koome would join the lawyers and some other advocates that will join the protest heading the president's space. And that caught many off guard, because while that report was circulating all through, and in fact in the media corridors, it was all rumored where Martha Koome would actually join. And her convoy left the Supreme Court building some moments before all that started, only for her to reappear in the High Court, where Anne Hamadi was actually doing her farewell, where her farewell ceremony was being held. Anne Hamadi, the outgoing registrar of the Judiciary, was actually doing her parting shots, and Chief Justice indirectly then joined the protest when she made her speech during Anne Hamadi's farewell event at the High Court.
We are ready to process any complaints against any judge or judicial officer who is implicated in corruption or in any other acts of misconduct, and state that we abhor corruption in all its formats, be it bribery, which is indeed a crime. However, such complaints must be launched and processed in the manner prescribed by the Constitution. Days are gone when officers were hounded, judges, judicial officers were hounded out of office through name calling and naming and shaming. The Judicial Service Commission, which is the body mandated by the Constitution to deal with matters of complaints, will only act on the basis of evidence and not on blanket statements or allegations that have not been substantiated. Doing otherwise will mean that we will be overthrowing the Constitution.
It is very clear, and she has asked William Ruto that the Judicial Service Commission, which is the body mandated to investigate the conduct of judges or such malicious acts, or the bribery crimes of the judges, is asking the president to formally file the complaints with evidence. Is simply asking the president, William Ruto, that bring the evidence. Stop talking in the streets. Just bring the evidence and we shall act on it. Second thing, she's also asked the judges, also spoken to the judges, that you should not be subdued. Don't lie low to act on the demands of the members of the executive against the oath of the office that you took. In a bare knuckle against the president in a hard-hitting statement that while you can talk and rant in the streets, here we shall follow the law of the land. We cannot afford to suspend the Constitution, assuring the president that even if independence of the judiciary is something that he does not want, is what he terms as interfering with the executive, but the judiciary must do its role as expected. So what then happened is, that is why you saw actually the police escorted them, because initially, and what they did, they ensured that the other members of the public did not join. And while and around town, whatever some people may be planning to join could not go there. And remember, the opposition team led by Sifuna, who was supposed to be part of this, actually was in Migori, Kisi Migori, for the burial ceremony of Rongo ODM chairman Philip Makabongo, and also made speeches the other end. So it is very clear that it is not going to be very easy. It is not going to be very easy for the president to run the onslaught against Martha Koome. Now, the protests and the messaging about the protest on Ruto must go is what captured my attention. Because someone even asked that instead of Kenyans talking and asking the president on this and that, and so many things that the president is getting wrong, why shouldn't he be impeached? And that is why the slogan Ruto must go is actually coming up. That messaging, according to me, is what then cuts the line. And someone was telling me, now, what are the lawyers going to say? What are the LSK going to say? What will be their rallying call? The rallying call is Ruto must go. And you could also see that even Kalonzo Musyoka joined that protest to call for the Ruto must go. Now, that probably is what came out of that. That's how they managed to evade the police dragnet, because they were actually around, willing to ensure that they dealt with it. Remember, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who is the man that will always wake up at 5 a.m. whenever there is some protest, is also in Zanzibar. And the president, I think, is still doing his tours in Mount Kenya. If I'm not wrong, today, probably, still in Mount Kenya. I want to say this. Martha Koome will actually regret that while sometimes decisions are politically convenient, but we're sometimes overwhelmed by events unfolding. When it was right, the Martha Koome-led bench stopped the BBI, because by then there was some anger against the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, and Uhuru Kenyatta had his own reservations about the judiciary by then. And then when it came to the 2022 general election, it was also politically convenient that everything Azimio said and their messaging and the reporting on what Azimio had actually presented to court was hot air, wild goose chase, and you can list those words. It was honeymoon. It was, you'll actually feel like the Supreme Court, rather the court, is the best thing that has ever happened in this country. So, but that's at times I don't feel for the judiciary. I don't feel for the Martha Koome side. Because this is purely a personal. This is purely between Ruto and Martha Koome. Instead of us being treated to this bravado, then the two of them should sit down and maybe find out, because that's where I think the solution is. It's not about judicial corruption. The president is talking about judicial corruption, while the whole government, even if you leave judiciary, the other executive, parliament, all these other sectors are full of corruption. Corruption rings are emerging. So this is not about a fight on corruption, but this is just a bravado between the two. There's some few lessons that then I think judiciary is coming over to pick, and it's not a good place to be. as a country. You know, it's not a place to, it's not something to be celebrated despite of the political differences we have. But we are getting it in a very wrong place. And there is some few things we need to pick from the protests and all this. Today, the judiciary is under attack, and the Law Society of Kenya, which is defending the judiciary and the law, took to the streets, and Martha Koome played to their trap, the police trap, and they could not do anything. Now, this is the time that Martha Koome must do some 3 or 4 necessary things and remember on what really matters. As we speak today, there are cases that even Azimio team launched against government on the issues of how some protesters were hit during the last protest. It is politically, sometimes it is politically convenient because I am not the one, because it is the protester. It's politically convenient. But now, because it is you, you can also feel what the commoner feels on the other end. What exactly the real colors of William Samoei Ruto. And if the president is not tamed, then we are getting it wrong. I think someone has even gone to court. This is the time for the Martha Koome team to listen to the case. Someone asked, what does Mambo ni Matatu mean? What does Mambo ni Matatu mean? Because the issue of Mambo ni Matatu that the president kept on saying last year is what we are meaning. It is what we are actually seeing, overthrowing the constitution. It's actually against the constitutional spirit. It's against the constitution. It's not anywhere. The Mambo ni Matatu, all the 3 options, going to heaven, I don't know, going to hell, I don't know, going out of the country, all of them are not, is not prescribed in the law of the land. So this is the time that Martha Koome should interrogate and entertain the discussion on what exactly is Mambo ni Matatu, because this is the other form of Mambo ni Matatu. Number 3, the judiciary and Martha Koome must, as a matter of urgency, interrogate. So what is the level of interdependence and dependence between judiciary and executive? Because yes, President Ruto is the head of government and is the head of executive, but Martha Koome is also the head of judiciary. So how does it come that we have a Mr. Nice president that is calling the shots and wants to do everything, and the threats on what has been said about crackdown and corruption, judges, and all about with that with Mambo ni Matatu? What is the security of tenure of the judges in relation to their right to life? Because those are the questions. The public is being fed by a lot of bravado. And thirdly, which is the last aspect, I think they must activate their communication channels to allow to tame the president. There is something that William Ruto thrives in, and that is what he's doing. He thrives in the monopoly of propaganda. Because he's a president, he can move to the center move to Nyahururu, and after launching a project, get the audience, because of his popularity, he's going to get some few people around, and run the political runs against the judiciary. That's a privilege that judges and maybe chief justice does not have. They don't engage in politics, so they don't have that. But they have a round table. It's a time when the judiciary should call a round table. They should dispatch the communication team to the media. And because they cannot get to the streets, they must also stand their ground. If they're not playing on Ruto's trap, they must also come out and stand their ground. All these accusations being leveled against them. I know there's a right to reply, but instead of waiting to reply in such events, come out, ask for a round table with the media as Chief Justice. Sit down with citizens, prime time at 7. Explain to the country what's your position on X, Y, Z, and what exactly needs to be done. What is the threat? So that the public the story is not one-sided on what the executive is saying. The story should not be one-sided, because if they leave it on the executive side, they enjoy the dominance. They're not going to carry away with it, and actually the public is buying their thing. It's very true that bribery is there. But what is the role of the president in it? Because he's a president, if he has a case against the judges, should he go to the rallies or should he take the evidence? Those are the things and go and tell. Buy newspaper space, explain yourself. Go to mainstream, explain yourself. So that you don't leave the government to run with the one dominant side of the story. That's my take. Let's meet in the next.